Okay, hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, or whenever you watch this video. Well, if you click this video, it means you already received the instruction by me for the English class that you have to watch this video, you have to write and answer all the questions provided in the video about the narrative text. And yes, narrative text is the new topic material, so that's why I feel like I have to make this video for you guys to watch. So just assume that we are in the classroom right now and I'm explaining about the narrative text. Okay, let's go. Okay, so we'll study about the narrative text. I'm sure that this is not the first time you hear narrative text. It's not only in English lesson but also in Bahasa Indonesia lesson. Okay, text narasi, right? Okay, so for the warming up, I want you guys to look at the pictures. There are some sequences here, right? Okay, this is your first question. Write it down. Please write the story based on the picture you've seen in the slides. Okay? You can pause and repeat the video to listen to the questions again. Okay, I'll go to the next slide. So this is the example on how you do the first question. Okay? So do like one day Andy blah 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 blah, then he was blah blah blah, after that finally blah 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 blah. Okay? So this is a story. Don't like this. Don't make a list. So first picture, Andy is blah blah blah. Second picture, he was blah blah blah. Okay, no. Alright? So this is the things that you have to do for the first questions. I'll continue to the next explanation. Okay, Miss, so what's the point of the pictures? Okay, that one is the warming up. So the learning goals for today is you can understand what a narrative text is, as well as its structure. And then, in the end of the lesson, you are expected to be able to write a narrative text using the correct structures. And I will explain the structure later. Okay? Alright, so this is the definition of the narrative text. So the narrative text is a type of writing that tells a story in a clear and organized way. So it is usually describes a sequence of events involving characters in a specific settings. Okay, not the important point. What does it mean by characters? Characters are the people involved in the story. And then what is setting? Settings is the time and the place. So when and where the story happened. Now, the second question. Okay, please mention the characters and the settings based on the story that you wrote earlier about these pictures. Okay, so I want to know that you understand the characters and the setting. Write it down. I'll continue to the next slides. All right. So the next point is about the structure of the narrative text. So a narrative text typically includes first orientations. It's about the introduction of the characters, the times and place. So the introduction of the characters, the people, and also the place, where and when for the time. Okay? After that, you continue to the complication. So it's like the problem or the conflict based on the story. And then the last is the resolutions. So how the problem is solved in the end. Now, third question. I want you guys analyze your structure of the story. Okay, you can write it down the questions, right? So you analyze by like orientation from here to here. You don't have to write the whole sentence. It's okay, right? As well as you highlight the point, which one is the orientation of your text that you met earlier, this one, okay? And then complication, what is the complication there? And then the resolution, what are they, okay? So here are some examples of narrative story in every kind of the narrative text. So first we have the fairy tales. Cinderella, Snow White is really famous stories of the narrative. And then the legends, especially in Indonesia, we have the Malin Kundang and the legend of Tangkuban Perahu. And then we have the fables. So the example is like the tortoise and the hare, or a very popular story, and then the lion and the mouse. And then for the short stories, The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry, if you ever read. And then the novels is by Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Fourth questions. Please find more examples of narrative story based on the types explained in these slides. Each of them one is enough. Alright, that's the end of the material for today. So the conclusion is we learn about the narrative text. It is a form of writing that tells a story with a clear structure from beginning, problem, and the resolutions. So its main purpose is to entertain readers while sometimes giving a lesson or a message. But Miss, we only have 4 questions. You say we will have 5. Here we go. Fifth question is you have to do self-reflections. And I already provided the rubric here. You can pause or screenshot while you're assessing your own story by this rubric, okay? So the total is 10 of 10. So it's like you give the score based on this rubric, okay, from your own story. So you have to write the self-reflection like this. From the rubric here, we can see that the first criteria is about the characters, and the score here, you can write 3, good, if your characters clear and interesting. You can write 2 for okay if your characters are not very clear. And then you can write 1 if you don't have clear characters. So Miss, this is based on my opinion? Yes. That's why I asked you to do this. Number 1, for the character criteria, which is this one, okay? I give 3 for my story, okay? Give 3 for my story because my characters are clear and interesting. Okay, for this reason, you can just copy the reason from the table here. And then you provide your own reason because I have Andy and the teacher as the characters. Or you may add more strong points while you give 3 for your own story. And then we continue. Okay, the second. For the settings criteria, I give 3, 2, 1. Okay, because this, okay, until the last one. And then in the end later, you can like, oh, wait, it's 12. Okay, it is 12. Okay, not 10. Okay, so the maximum point is 12 out of 12. Okay, later from your self-reflection, you can try to count by yourself to see the score, but it doesn't mean that it become your score later in the end because I have to assess, right? I have to give score based on my opinion, right? I ask you to do this self-reflection because I want to see whether you really understand or not about the narrative text. Those are 5 questions that I asked you to write down based on the video. Okay, if you have more questions about the narrative text, you can just text me or you can just give notes under your work. So thank you for participating. Bye-bye.